I'm born and raised in the neighborhood. My father started here in 1947. He came to America. And he took over the deli in the early 60s. And I started working when I was 12, so that's 44 years ago. And then in the 90s, something good happened. They cleaned up the city like it was never cleaned up. You felt really good going to New York. Now you don't feel comfortable going to New York. As a businessman, I work really hard, 6, 7 days a week. I want to take my family out to the city. I don't like going to New York and seeing disrespect all over the city.
Born and raised in New York. I'm fourth generation. My kids, 2 toddlers, are fifth generation. Trying to raise them in New York City is almost impossible. As this time, the crime, the homelessness, it's outrageous.
The decline of New York in the past few years was gradual until it was sudden. You saw trash not being collected as often. You saw more rodents in the street. You saw homelessness. And it wasn't just the appearance of homelessness or the rise in crime. It was indifference toward it.
The city is changing, and not for the better. Crime is up, salaries are stagnant. The affluent have left, and they're not coming back. Apartments lay vacant, our streets are dirty.
I call it the 3 Ds. We have decay that is brought about by despair and denial. We have despair in our communities. We have people in power who are in denial of the realities that are impacting people's lives. We've got people who can't keep a roof over their head. They haven't been able to pay their mortgage. They haven't been able to pay their rent.
The food businesses are the people of New York City, whether it's the waiters and the bartenders, the dishwashers, the cooks, the prep people, the chefs, the managers. Probably 20% of the population of New York City is involved in some way in the food business. And then if you add all the people that work in the hotels, the catering businesses.
The city has changed because they don't care about the small business, number one. When a family's running a restaurant business, people have no idea the sacrifice they put into that business. Right now, there's no more business in Manhattan.
We've lost countless numbers of restaurants in New York. At the beginning of the pandemic, they were estimating that 60% of the restaurants in New York would close and never reopen again. And we've seen it. I mean, you drive down the street, you see every other store, every third store is closed and shuttered with a for lease sign on the front door.
It feels like we're losing our grip on entrepreneurship here. Congestion pricing and taxing motorists for coming into the city. How are people supposed to make deliveries to restaurants? How are tourists supposed to come here from Philadelphia even? Are they supposed to pay extra? It's not hard enough to park your car or run a business here now. People are traveling further and further to get to work.
Help the small businesses. I don't want a handout. I want work. We miss the tourism. We used to get groups from Italy, 500-600 people a week over here. They're not coming anymore.
A lot of my friends own businesses, own buildings, and they're losing them. I mean, it's sad to say, without the tourists, without any help funding-wise, there's nothing for them. They're losing their dreams. They're, something their grandparents saved and try to create a future for, the future generations.
The ever-changing rules and regulations. You go into a restaurant, they're inundated with rules, therefore the patrons are, and it's just this terrible domino effect of not knowing what's ahead. All the while, taxation is on the rise, quality of life has declined, and no one feels safe anymore. As much as we love being New Yorkers and we'll always carry that grit with us, it's time for us to have our money take us a little farther.
You solve the quality of life issue in New York City by showing people that they matter. When you know that your life matters, you don't litter in your own community. When you show people that there is more to life, that their life is not being lived moment to moment, but year to year, decade to decade, because there is future, because there is hope, that is when the city that we love becomes the city that we've always wanted it to be.